The day that Deshaun Watson, and I'm sure a lot of NFL fans and organizations alike have been waiting for, is now come to a close. Deshaun Watson has been cleared of all the cases by a grand jury. So, what does this mean for not only the NFL and the Houston Texans, but my Philadelphia Eagles? Let's talk about it.
You want Philly, Philly?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
What's going on, you guys? It's your boy Joe Castro, aka Philly Fresco, and this is Philly the podcast. So today, I want to talk about Deshaun Watson. I know. We've talked about him a lot, but now seems like, look, it could actually be a possibility, and it's something that we have to look at. Before we get into that, be sure to hit that like, hit that subscribe, join the family. We are on the road to 4K. We would love for you guys to join that ride. So let's talk a little bit about Deshaun Watson. Obviously, the player has been very polarizing, right? A lot of people enamored with the talent that he has, especially at his age, and for good reason. Deshaun Watson is a very talented young man, coming off of 1 year of rest, I guess you can call it now, right? Didn't get to play any of the games last year. And it looks like the Houston Texans are ready to move on from the young quarterback. So what happens, right? What happens now? There's going to be a lot of teams going out there fighting for Deshaun Watson and the rights to have him as their quarterback next year. What happens with the NFL investigation? They technically have not ruled him, clear. They have not really said too much. I think they were just waiting to see what happened in the today's court trial, and now they saw. So is he going to be fully cleared of everything? Is everything going to be back to normal? Is he going to go get traded by, Houston Texans and boom, the end of the story? Or is there going to be more to this? Me personally, I think that there's still a risk involved with him. I understand the age. I understand that now he's cleared. We're not worrying about, the legality of it. We're worried now of the picks and what we're going to have to give up as far as financially. As far as the Eagles go, and I don't want to get too much into any other team because I don't know how willing they are to be in this type of position. But the Eagles themselves, we saw Aaron Rodgers go out there and get a bag, right? We've seen a lot of quarterbacks out here getting bags that aren't necessarily worth it. And we got to be honest with ourselves. Deshaun Watson, outside of 1 year, I think, hasn't really done much as in the way of team success. So are we willing to give up not only the draft picks that it's going to take, but I'm sure his contract is going to have to be reworked at some point. And look, Houston now, they're probably the biggest winners outside of Deshaun Watson himself from everything that happened today. Obviously, they were looking to get rid of him for a while now. It's been about 2 years, realistically, because I feel like they were trying to get rid of him prior to the offseason or prior to the season last year. So we look at this situation, and now it's like, how much are we going to have to pay, and what realistic return can we envision? If we get Deshaun Watson, are we going to be saying we got to wait a year for him to get back into football shape? This year's kind of a throwaway season, just kind of build around him. And if you are saying that, how are we going to build around them if you're trying to give up multiple first-round picks? We've seen the deal with Russell Wilson, and it begs the question. Russell Wilson, obviously more accomplished when it comes to the team's success. And as an individual player, he has obviously done more in his longer career than Deshaun Watson. But do you give more assets or more money to a guy that's younger? That's what worries me, is that we looked at the Russell Wilson trade and we say, wow, that's way too much. Would the Eagles have to do the same to get a Deshaun Watson? Would any team have to do the same, if not better, to get a Deshaun Watson? And then what is that contract going to look like when you guys start getting to the table? I said this before, and I'll say this again. I don't think the Eagles are in a position to give up multiple first-round picks and multiple, players and this and that to go ahead and get a quarterback. I think that there's far too many holes on this team in general, especially on the defensive side, to just think that putting a Band-Aid at the quarterback position, while it may be a very nice, expensive Band-Aid, just putting a Band-Aid at that position is going to make everything better, make us a Super Bowl competing team. And if you're looking at this team, that should be the next step. The next step shouldn't be let's get better in the playoffs, let's win one more game. The next step should be like, how can we get this team to be a Super Bowl contending team? And we saw what we could do last year with a quarterback that was learning on the fly. We saw what we can do with a whole coaching staff that was learning on the fly. So let's add some more depth to this team. Let's get more players in this system that can grow not only with the coaching staff, but with the young players, whether that be a Jalen Hurts, whether that be a Deshaun Watson down the road. I'm just not willing to go all in on one guy right now, especially at the quarterback position. Especially, Deshaun Watson is a great player. He really is. But you've seen some of those offenses that he's had in Houston, and not to mention some of those defenses that he's had in Houston. So the lack of team success kind of makes me a little nervous, if I'm being 100%. And that could be totally unwarranted. You could, you could roast me in the comments and tell me you're bugging out. Deshaun Watson is that guy. But for me, it's just so many things that have compiled up that are making me think that the Eagles need to just keep their nose out of this. Maybe you throw in a little deal. Maybe you throw a deal at them and say, listen, we'll give you a first-round pick this year, a first-round pick next year, a couple mid-round picks, maybe a Jalen Hurts gets thrown in that deal, then maybe we can talk about this. But if the starting conversation is 2 first rounds, two second rounds, or 3 first rounds, if that's the start of the conversation, if that's where we have our appetizers at, I'm not coming to the rest of the dinner. I'm good on that. Like, that's just way too much for me, especially for the position that the Eagles are in. And I just feel like as a team that has a wealth of draft picks, teams are going to look at them and be like, oh, you guys got a bunch. Why can't you just give us an extra this, give us an extra that? And I feel like our negotiating is going to be a little bit more difficult because people know how much we have in our arsenal, how much weaponry we really have, especially come draft night. So I get a little bit nervous that people are going to try and take advantage of us in that aspect. And I'm not willing to throw away this first round. I've heard some people say, well, just go ahead and give them 2 from this year, 1 from next year, or 3 from this year. This way it's 1 year and you're done. I'm not really willing to throw away this draft this year just to get a quarterback. We need so much, especially on the defensive side. I've said it before. I'll say it again. This draft's strengths really line up with our weaknesses as a team. So for me, it's really... I'm not going to say it's a no-brainer. I'm not going to say there's no world where I want Deshaun Watson on this team. I'm just going to say it has to be very smart. It has to be very calculated. I don't want to give up the world for any quarterback at this point right now. I think that I've said this again, I'll say this a million times. There's so many things we have to fix on this team right now. But it is what it is. Deshaun Watson is cleared. Deshaun Watson now can sign with any team that he wants to. Or not sign, but he can get traded to any team he basically wants to because he has a no-trade clause as well. So this is on him now, right? The ball is back in his court, and God bless him for that because, getting accused of what he got accused of is never cool. Like, especially when, well, not especially, but when it's false, it is never cool to put somebody in that position to try and ruin someone's life because that's basically what they did with Deshaun Watson. But at the end of the day, the news is that he is cleared. The news is that teams are going to be calling the Houston Texans like there is no tomorrow. So hopefully they have their phone on vibrate or else they will not get no sleep tonight. But y'all let me know what y'all thinking, man. How bad do you want Deshaun Watson? Because I know that a lot of you guys want Deshaun Watson. And if you don't, I would love to know why. I would love to know what's holding you back. You heard what's holding me back. And if you do want Deshaun Watson, what are you willing to give up? And be realistic. Throw it in the comments. Let me know how you're feeling. But other than that, y'all know what it is, man. It is Fly Eagles Fly. And we are out here. Peace!
Everywhere. This is for you.
Fly Eagles flying on the team. Touchdown. Time to get Jalen this ring. You don't really want to start a thing. This a Bird Gang Nation, baby. It's a Philly thing. Hater, and you looking like you type trash. I'm just here calling on Philly the podcast. And we can call a man dog or watch Miles score off the handoff. Rest of the division, your man Saul Jackson like Deshaun, hunting like Randolph. Season here, early time to do 'em in. Your boy Philly Fresco. Thanks for tuning in.